Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Although it is the end of January, I'm going to say Happy New Year to those of you who I've not seen so far this year. This is my first learning clinic of the year, and it's really nice to be back in the zone. My name is Lucy Hinney. I am based in the UK, and I'm here in my capacity as a Let's Connect liaison for Northwest Europe. I'll be working today with my colleagues Rocio, Cassie, Anthony, and Bacola, who are all here to help support this meeting. As Cassie mentioned, this meeting is being recorded. Crucially, if you would like interpretation, the available languages we have are French, Spanish, and Portuguese. To access this, use the toolbar at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Alongside reactions, you'll see a little globe icon that will allow you to tune in to the interpretation channels. Those of you who are looking for English today, you may want to turn on the English interpretation channel as there will be some presentations in Spanish today. So do remember and toggle into that if you can. If you have any difficulty with translation or tuning in, please just let us know in the chat and we will be more than happy to help you out there. If I could have the next slide, please, Bacola. Thank you. So just to tell you a little bit about Let's Connect, I'm sure most of you are familiar with this already, but for those who are new, an extra special welcome. Let's Connect is a peer learning program that is operated as a joint community foundation initiative. We are here primarily to have a good time. We live to make people feel comfortable and confident, and we believe strongly that we all have something to learn from anyone, no matter their experience. And today, we're going to be sharing information from Wikimedia Italia and Wikimedia Colombia on advocacy and copyright reform within the movement. So, why are we here today? To be equipped with ideas and resources to adapt in response to public policy changes, to understand Wikimedia Colombia's strategies in engaging with government processes for copyright reform, to become familiar with Wikimedia Italia's initiatives highlighting the impact of new copyright laws on cultural heritage work. And we're particularly lucky that Zisky Putz is here today from the Wikimedia Foundation advocacy team. This clinic in particular was part of a collaboration with Zisky to talk more about public policy and advocacy. And Zisky will be sharing links throughout the call today. Everything we share today, the slide decks, the materials, will be made available to you after the session, and much of it will be in translation. So if you're coming to us in French, Spanish, or Portuguese, these slides are available in those languages also, and we're happy to share those links with you. Our agenda for today, we're going to do a welcome, which is happening presently, and then an icebreaker. We're going to hear from Wikimedia Italia about a case study of their work. We're then going to hear from Wikimedia Colombia about an aspect of their work. Then we're going to have 20 minutes to develop questions and put them on a Padlet so that we can lead into a full group question and answer session with our sharers. There will be a bit of informal discussion along the way as well, and I'm sure that our sharers will actually have questions to ask one another as well. We will be keeping a notes document with the things that we talk about in discussion so that you can refer back to it later. So don't worry about taking lots of your own notes. We will have a notes document. So with all that in mind, we should hopefully close in just under 2 hours' time. I'm going to pass over to my colleague Rocio, who's going to take us through our icebreaker. So I will pass over now. Thanks, Rocio.
Thank you, Lucy. Hi, everyone. Hola a todas y todos. I'm Rocio from the Let's Connect team, also from Chile. So yeah, we will make a couple of questions just to start linking with the topic. And the first question, and you can use the Zoom chat, or if you want, you can also ask for talking and use your microphone. It's totally fine. The first question is, have you experienced a situation where you or your team have to think about advocacy? This question is not necessarily related or focused on Wikimedia. So in your life, you can tell us about a time when you have had to advocate for something. That is the first question, and the mic and the chat is totally open for everyone who wants to participate. Chico is raising their hand. Chico, go ahead.
Hey, I'm Chico Venancio from Wikimedia Brazil. One recent theme that we've had to a lot of advocacy engagement is the ongoing, it's been a few years actually, but the ongoing attempt to regulate social media platforms. Here in Brazil, it's been ongoing for a while, and the issue is Wikimedia projects are usually not taken into account when they're thinking about this regulation. And yeah, so we're there just trying to remind everyone that these same rules are going to apply to our projects and how they will impact it. And so far, we've succeeded in keeping the exclusion of the project in the ongoing text, but the discussion hasn't ended yet, so that's one of the issues.
Thank you for sharing that, Chico. I can see a couple of answers in the chat as well. Justice, who's a beloved member of our working group, says, advocacy has been very much a part of my adult life. Coming from a country where being a humanist or atheist makes you a minority, I've had to advocate for inclusion in the majority of spaces I find myself. Yeah, that's really important kind of advocacy there. And Sarah says advocating for changes of policy within an organization or around a law or statute that might affect our work and answering consultations. Yeah.
Yeah, so Bukola is raising her hand. Thank you very much, Chico, Sara, and Justice for sharing your thoughts with us. We can see that in your responses or comments that you are also kind of making a definition about what is advocacy or what advocacy means. So we are arriving to the point. Bukola?
Yeah, thank you, Rocio. I wanted to break the radio silence, but then somebody came before me to share. So for me, I would say advocacy is an act of supporting a cause that you're passionate about. It could be about a policy or maybe a group of people that you're defending. Now, when I think of advocacy as a Wikimedian, and as a program organizer, I see advocacy for me and my team as a way of as an act of supporting the promotion or contribution to free knowledge, getting more people to contribute to what I'm passionate about as part of as being part of the free knowledge movement. So getting people to contribute to Wikimedia projects, and also like in return, increasing visibility and closing the knowledge gap that exists about some topics that are related to my own local context. So that's the way I see advocacy. It's defending something. And as a Wikimedian, is about defending or supporting the use of free access documents or like free access to open knowledge or open education resources. So that's what I see advocacy as. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bukola. Anyone else? I don't know, Lucy, what you think, but maybe we can open also like the second question. If someone wants to tell us about what does advocacy mean for you, it will be great too.
Yeah, I like that. Rocio, we want to ask you, what does advocacy mean for you and for your team? We will be giving you the foundation definition shortly, but there are no wrong answers here. What does advocacy mean for you and your team? It need only be a couple of words. You might want to just pop it in the Zoom chat. But yeah, what does advocacy mean for you? How do you understand it?
We can also like refresh something that people said before, Chico, Sara, Bukola, that advocacy is related, yeah, with supporting or with defending something in different situations that we are.
I think we'll give you all a minute or so to just put some answers in the chat there about what advocacy means for you and your team. It may be that you don't know yet. It may be that you're unsure, but when you think of advocacy, what do you feel it means? I see in the chat we've got defending, supporting. I've put making and taking up space. Oh, wonderful. So Umar, bringing an idea into reality with team support or expert support and experience. Esther has a great example, defend the use of Catalan language in all contexts to protect our legacy. That is something that the team at Wikimedia UK work on, as well as the use of Celtic languages in particular. A lot of language advocacy there. Changing things, possibly the world. I like that, Iolanda. My very bad French leads me to think that Beale is saying it's about making work common and collaborative. Umar says public support for recommendations of a particular course or policies. This is lovely. Well, I think we could do a drum roll and pass on to Rocio for the foundation definition. And again, you will get this in all the interpreted languages today after the session, but I'll pass back to Rocio for the next slide.
Thank you. Well, so the Wikimedia Foundation definition about public policy advocacy is work to shape a legal environment, the regulatory ecosystem in which our movement exists, goal is to impact government legislation. Target of this work includes national and international law, trade agreements, human rights framework, and other regulation and norms set by governments and lawmakers. Type of policy change: eliminate a harmful policy, update or reform an existing policy, enforce an existing policy, develop a new policy. And on the other hand, we have the definition of advocacy: any action to support or change policies on a given topic does not need to involve government regulation. So some examples: campaigns to change copyright policies of GLAM institutions, digitizing or uploading content of government organizations, or promotion of Wikimedia projects. So we have these definitions. These definitions came from the Wikimedia Foundation, but if you realize there are a lot of words that sound the same way or in the same sense that the definitions that you made. So it's very interesting. Lucy?
Thank you, Rocio. Thank you. I hope that's got everyone thinking about their own definitions and that of the foundation and how the two link together. I've shared a link in the chat for slides in other languages. It's actually all one big long slide deck. So if you just scroll down, all the languages are available there. Please do let me know if that link doesn't work. I think that Google Slides doesn't like me because it never lets my share settings stick. So please just say if you're unable to access that. It's my pleasure now to hand over to I believe first up it's Wikimedia Italia, and we've got Paolo and Iolanda here to talk to us for around 10 to 15 minutes about a case study of work that they have done. So Iolanda, I'm delighted to pass over to you for this part of the session.
Hello, everyone. Nice to see you. I'm Iolanda Pensa, chair of Wikimedia Italy. I'm a volunteer, and Paolo Casagrande today also together. And there's, I think, Elena Marangoni among the public, so another member of Wikimedia board, and Paolo is a staff member. So we wanted to share our experience in Italy related to Wikilove's monuments and GLAMs. And I would like to start with what I thought at the beginning was the normal situation. So you take a photo of a monument and you upload it on Wikimedia Commons and you share it to the world, also for commercial purposes. In reality, what we face in Italy is a little bit more complex. So there are issues in finding the list of monuments, having the authorization to take photos for commercial purposes. We don't have freedom of panorama. And the complexity of the process has created a specific approach of Wikimedia Italy. In particular, we have a series of legal limitation to public domain. So maybe many of you know freedom of panorama. This is something that we don't have in Italy. Freedom of panorama means that you can take photos of everything that is in public view, also if it's under copyright. But in the case of Italy, even if things are in public domain, so we would expect free to share, there are restrictions related to commercial use. So at the beginning, we thought that we could not participate in Wikilove's monuments. It was too complicated. But then we created a sort of procedure to find a solution. And I have to admit that the procedure started with also the aim of involving participants, involving institutions, involving city councils and people that manage heritage, to ask them an authorization, to ask them to participate, and also to highlight the value of Wikimedia work, but also the work of volunteers, the work of people that contributed to document heritage. So we created a procedure in which institutions and people that manage or own heritage can provide an authorization and state that everyone can take photos of their heritage without restrictions and without having to pay a fee. So they can take photos and those photos can be released with an open license that also allows commercial use. I remember I put your attention on the fact that all our licenses allow commercial reuse. We had an incredible success. So consider that right now we have around 17,000 monuments that are authorized in Italy and that people can take photos of and release them also with commercial authorization. We involved an incredible number of institutions. We had even the Ministry of Culture supporting Wikiloss monuments. We had many city council, around 3,000 city council of the 9,000 we have in Italy that contributed in providing those authorizations. So through time, Wikiloss monuments really created an incredible support by people and by institutions. 2 years ago, though, we decided to try to change the situation, because even if we had an incredible support, even if we were creating interesting content and useful content, the law was not changing. So what we decided to do is to try with the thematic approach. So we, in 2022, we focus on castles and fortification. So we added content on Wikidata about them, and we created a list, and we invited participants to take photos of castle by creating a specific partnership with the National Institution of Castle in Italy. So we involve them as a partner, and we created a sort of opt-out option. So we didn't ask for authorization, but we say, okay, we give for granted that everyone agrees, and if they don't like the idea, they can opt out. We didn't receive any request of opt-out. The contest was a success, and we had a very good feedback. In 2023, we focused on churches, so and on religious buildings, and in this case, we had also a partnership with the Vatican. So we had an endorsement from the Vatican to support us, and also in this case, we had the possibility of increasing the monuments that could be photographed to 68,000 data on Wikidata, and item and associated monuments that could be at the center of the contest. And it was an incredible success also. We had a really great increase of number of photos. And this year we will be focusing on museum and GLAMs. So we tasted, and we continued actually to ask authorization. So authorization is one of the system, an authorization in which an institution doesn't ask for money and authorize the photos also for commercial purposes. But we also created other approaches to see also if we had a positive reaction from the institution, if we had a better reaction. And the reality is that the contest have been continuing, going on for 12 years now, and we never had any negative feedback or any aggressive or reaction. So there was a very positive also history that we can tell. We created also tools to monitor it and also to show the impact on territories. So this is in yellow are the monuments, well, in gray are all the monuments on Wikidata. On yellow are the monuments that are in the contest. They can be monuments that have an authorization or monuments that have that we decided to add with those thematic approach. And in green are the images that have been produced. We also created an app to guide photographers in documenting buildings and monuments that are not photographed yet. This tool can also allow to look at all content on Wikimedia Commons. And it allows to monitor content associated to specific cities. And it's very useful also when you present the project to territories, also to motivate the importance of it. To finish, this year, the focus will be on GLAMS, on a cultural institution, and on bath and spa, which is another, we added this component to the contest. And last year, in 2022, we started a project to invite all Italian museums to contribute to Wikipedia and to be part of the Wikipedia and Wikimedia communities. So we created a campaign that invited over 3,000 museums to contribute, even with only 20 images, to Wikimedia Commons, and to create an authorization to provide us with, by opening their content. And at the moment, well, this process have been obviously guided, and we created a different system to allow institutions to participate. And at the moment, we received around 230 institutions that signed an open access policy and started contributing to the Wikimedia project. It was also a campaign aiming to create an alternative to a government that actually tend to add the restriction, and to create a possibility for institution to choose open access, to implement it, and to have support from Wikimedia Italy in choosing this working direction. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Iolanda. Rocio, would you like to introduce our next speaker?
Sorry, I was having a little problem with my mic and my thing to hear. So
Oh, no worries.
yeah. Well, first of all, thank you so much for your presentation. It was super clear for me and super nice also to hear, very pedagogic too. And now we will we will hear the presentation of Wikimedia Colombia case of study, so we can have another perspective on that. So very, very welcome.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. I am Mónica Bonilla, Executive Director for Wikimedia Colombia. Thank you for the space. Today we are going to present it and share with you experience of Wikimedia Colombia. And I today together with my colleague David Ordóñez, and we are going to do a presentation in Spanish, and please close you move to the English channel for the interpretation.
Thank you so much and welcome, Mónica and David.
David, come on.
Bueno, hola. Bueno, esta es la presentación que preparamos Mónica y yo. Yo hago parte de las personas que son voluntarias en Wikimedia Colombia. Este es el contenido que vamos a revisar hoy. Bueno, son simplemente cuatro puntos. Es, bueno, un contexto de qué es Colombia, ¿no? Un poco para entender nuestra cultura y las cosas que suceden en nuestro país, específicamente con temas de advocacy.
David, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. We're just switching over interpretation channels. So those who are looking for English interpretation, please go to the Spanish channel. Sorry. So if you want English, go to the Spanish channel. Okay, so I'm going to give everyone a minute to do that. Oh, no,
Okay,
it's
just
okay.
let me know when I continue.
That is totally okay. So, which channel? Well, we're all English. Okay, no, we're back on English. No problem at all. David, I'm so sorry to have interrupted you there. We should be fine on the English channel now. Please do continue. Sorry about that.
No worries, Lucy. Thank you. Listo. Entonces, lo que haremos en nuestra presentación será, bueno, ver estos 4 puntos, el contexto de Colombia, qué es Colombia, cómo es nuestra cultura, específicamente la ley de derecho de autor en Colombia, que es el tema que trabajamos desde Wikimedia Colombia para incidir en los proyectos de ley. ¿Qué pasó en 2018 cuando trabajamos juntos y desde diferentes lugares manteniendo esta idea de un Internet libre, abierto y distribuido y que no es un único nodo central el que promueve los cambios, sino que son muchas partes en muchos lugares y los resultados? Así que, bueno, aquí vamos.
Bueno, entonces yo me voy a encargar de hacer el contexto de Colombia. Colombia pues está ubicado en Sudamérica. Somos 52 millones de habitantes. Hablamos español, pero también son reconocidas como lenguas oficiales. Las lenguas habladas por las comunidades indígenas, en este caso pues hay reconocidas oficialmente a 68 lenguas que en sus territorios son cooficiales. También tenemos lenguas creoles, 2, y son 110, más de 110 pueblos indígenas los que están también en el territorio. Somos wikimedistas de Colombia desde el año 2014, pero recibimos el reconocimiento como capítulo oficial por parte de la Wikimedia Foundation en el año 2019. Ahí están viendo el mapa. Ahora ampliamos este mapa al siguiente. Y es que esto es muy importante, el tema de la diversidad lingüística y cultural. Ya les decía yo un poco, les da un contexto. Son alrededor de 13 familias lingüísticas diferentes y más de 110 pueblos indígenas los que se encuentran en el territorio. Entonces ustedes están viendo acá un mapa de Colombia en el que se presenta la distribución geográfica de las comunidades indígenas pues en el territorio. Y bueno, también es muy emocionante mostrarles esta imagen. Ya les decíamos que somos wikimedistas desde el año 2014. Estas dos imágenes son imágenes oficiales del encuentro con la comunidad de voluntarios, voluntarias y voluntarias en el país. Como se pueden dar cuenta, pues somos muchas personas, pero algo que quisiera destacar es que las personas que hacen parte de la comunidad están en diferentes lugares del país, tienen intereses también diferentes y como ya les decía David, compartimos este interés por el acceso libre y abierto al conocimiento, pues en todo el territorio nacional.
Y bueno, el segundo punto es lo que pasó con la ley de derecho de autor en Colombia, y es que debido a los tratados de libre comercio, Colombia tenía ciertas obligaciones para implementar proyectos de ley. Estas propuestas empezaron a surgir desde el año 2011 y con cierta frecuencia pues, iban apareciendo propuestas para cambiar el derecho de autor. Eh, Específicamente, pues hubo un grupo que lo que hizo fue agrupar a instituciones de la sociedad civil. Es un grupo interdisciplinario que se llama Red para Todos. eh, Se juntaron, no sé, personas del campo audiovisual, personas abogadas, personas que trabajaban, no sé, el desarrollo de software. Yo hice parte de este grupo como desde las personas bibliotecarias, así que fue un grupo interdisciplinario, ¿no? Buscamos que más sectores participaran para que la ley de derecho de autor fuera una ley justa e incluyente. Y aquí hicimos cosas como, por ejemplo, compartir este tipo de imágenes donde se explicaba en una línea de tiempo todos los temas que se intentaban regular cada vez que aparecía una de estas propuestas de ley, ¿no? Al final tenemos, por ejemplo, el Tratado de Marrakech, que favorecía a personas ciegas y con baja visión, excepciones y limitaciones. Y arriba tenemos otro tipo de legislaciones, pues, que modificaban el derecho de autor.
Bueno, y entonces en 2018 ya les contaba a David que recibimos una invitación de este colectivo Red para Todos. También convocaron a Wikimedia Colombia y un poco alineado con lo que ocurría con Wikimedia Colombia es que nosotros desde la constitución formal del capítulo como uno oficial planteamos también el trabajo con pues a través de la diversidad lingüística y cultural del país. Por tanto, lo que empezamos a hacer fue a tener comunicación y reuniones periódicas con este colectivo discutiendo los puntos que afectaban, por ejemplo, el tema de la traducción de contenidos o la distribución de contenidos, por ejemplo, en comunidades indígenas en el país. También tuvimos que aprender y entender qué estaba pasando y cómo podíamos incidir en la política que se estaba discutiendo. Y el Congreso de la República convocó a varias audiencias. Desde Wikimedia Colombia lo que hicimos fue participar en estas audiencias presentando conceptos y también pues a través de estas discusiones con el equipo interdisciplinar intentamos entender cómo se afectaba la misión del movimiento Wikimedia en el país y cómo estas modificaciones a la ley iban a incidir e iban a perjudicar nuestro trabajo con diferentes grupos y comunidades. Y pues bueno, también esto nos sirvió en el caso de Wikimedia Colombia para contactarnos con personas tomadoras de decisiones y para entender un poco el contexto colombiano en términos de discusiones, de participación ciudadana y de cómo posicionar también al movimiento Wikimedia en pues en este contexto.
Y entre los resultados que tenemos es que, bueno, uno de estos proyectos de ley se convirtió finalmente en ley. Cosas que hicimos fueron, por ejemplo, declaraciones desde Wikimedia Colombia donde manifestaban los ajustes, por ejemplo, que debería tener el proyecto de ley cuando fuera ley. Y aquí específicamente hay unos enlaces a, por ejemplo, el documento que presentó Wikimedia Colombia sobre cómo ajustar la legislación para incluir también normas que favorecieran el acceso a la información en traducciones y lenguas indígenas. También se incluyeron pues peticiones de diferentes colectivos, como les mencionaba, y otra de las cosas que también pasó en esta ley es que se incluyó una cláusula que pedía que la revisión de esta ley se hiciera cada 2 años para actualizarla. Y bueno, hasta ahora no ha ocurrido esta actualización, pero estamos listos a participar cuando vuelva a aparecer un proyecto de ley de estas características. Esa es nuestra presentación. Gracias.
Thank you so much, David and Monica. I would love it if we could use our reactions to share some appreciation for both the presentations that we just saw there. Yay. I am in the process of putting the translated case study slides into the chat. I always try and take my time with this, so they should be ready in the next 10 minutes or so. I apologize that they've been a bit delayed. Now, in our agenda for today, we had the time up until 16:55, so the next 10 minutes, to think about questions you would like to ask. Now, there's often a silence when we ask people, do you have any questions? Because everyone is shy and doesn't kind of know what they want to say. We're going to be having a long discussion with all of our sharers in the next hour. What I would like you to do is have a think about any questions you might have and share them. Now, I want to enable you, and Rocio and I want you to be able to share anonymously if you would like, because we understand that some questions might be ones that you feel less comfortable asking, or ones that you would rather just ask anonymously. So I'm going to share two things with you. There is a link, and if one of my co-hosts could possibly share it in the chat, to the Padlet. Now, Padlet is a little anonymous idea sharing tool. Can everyone see the Padlet that I have here? Thumbs up, thumbs down. It's kind of a purple
It
screen.
is also in the chat. The link
And
is
the link
also
is in the chat.
Yeah.
So if you click that link, it will take you to the screen. Now, in the bottom right, there is this plus sign. If you click on that, you can ask a question. You can also do things like add a GIF, add an image, but I'm sure you're probably just in the mood to ask questions at the moment. And what you can put here is something like, can you talk more about my computer is being very slow today? Case study 1, or a specific thing, and then you click publish, and that is an anonymous question. So we're going to give you about 5 to 10 minutes to put as many questions as you would like on this Padlet. You can use any of our interpreted languages today, and we can do our best to get those translated and answered. And we're really just going to give you some silence or quiet at the moment for you to think about questions you'd like to ask and share them. If you're happy to, you can just share them in the Zoom chat. That's not an issue. But if you want to be anonymous or would prefer to do it on the Padlet, you are more than welcome to. So it's 16:48 for me now. I'm going to let these questions run till about 16:55-56, so in about 8 minutes' time. While that's happening, I'm going to share some links for you with the language slides for Spanish, Portuguese, and French. I'll put my microphone off and the recording will be paused while we do this bit, but then we will resume in about 8 minutes' time. I hope that's clear. If anyone has anything else they'd like to ask, please do just put it in the Zoom chat, and I'll leave my screen shared so that we can see things. And I'm going to mute myself just so you don't have to hear me humming and hawing as I try and share some links.
Hi, I have to be reassigned for Portuguese.
I'll add you right now, Eduardo. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, great.
All right, everyone. I'm going to give you one more minute there. Shout out to the Let's Connect working group. I gave a little call for help there, and everyone responded within a minute, which is just so nice. I just having some difficulty copy and pasting some links, but Rocio is on it. But thanks to Chin and Justice and Cassie and Bukola for also responding. I was a
Lucy,
little yes,
sorry,
Rocio.
sorry to interrupt you. The links that you need are slide in translation. Okay, and
Yes,
they are in our shared document.
they should be, yeah, they should be in the drive there, and in the session plan.
And
Yeah.
session plan. Okay.
For some reason, my computer maxed out when I tried to give it some copy pasting to do. I'll make a confession. I was a little apprehensive about leaving silent space for questions to be asked, but I'm really glad that we did it because I think that having these questions, having had time to think about them and having them on the Padlet and in the chat is really helpful. The other question I'm going to ask of my Let's Connect colleagues is if somebody would open within the session plan, there is a note-taking document for the Q&A session. If somebody would be happy to open that and start the process of taking notes, that would be really, really helpful. I'm happy to note take, but it would involve somebody else sharing the Padlet, so we can do it that way if that's preferable. In fact, Chin, if you were able to share the Padlet, I can hop onto the notes document if you'd like.
Sure, Lucy.
Great.
Just give me a second.
No problem. I'll stop my share and we'll get Chin set up. So the question is, how do we start with these questions? How do we start the discussion and facilitating them between everyone? I'd give a big gold star to Ziski, who's already answered some of them, which is above and beyond. So a big gold star for Ziski. She is excited. I love that. So the questions that have been answered are the panorama policy. Ziski shared some links to learn more about freedom of panorama and freedom of panorama in Europe. So that's this question up at the top here. So if anybody wants to learn more about freedom of panorama, that is where to do it. Also, there was a question that came in about, is advocacy important for languages that are still in the incubator? Ziski has answered that yes, advocacy is most effective when it is proactive. This has less to do with languages and more to do with the laws that your government has or is thinking of passing. So you always want to influence the government to like and protect Wikipedia and other free knowledge projects. And I hope I'm not speaking out of turn when I say that's been really important in the UK at the moment. With some of the online safety bill measures that have come in. So that's been a real important thing over here. And also I see in the bottom left-hand corner, I'm interested in knowing if Wikimedia Italian or Wikimedia Colombia developed some type of advocacy framework for the work they did, or steps or strategies. Ziski has shared an amazing amount of resources here. Yes, this is what I'm working on as part of the global advocacy team. We are developing a copyright specific one. In the meantime, here are some other resources. So we've got a template for how to build an advocacy strategy, an advocacy resource repository with best practice examples and lessons from Wikimedia Italia, Wikimedia Colombia, and others who have done copyright advocacy campaigns. So that is a lot of things there. So what I'm going to do now is ask our speakers to take a look at these questions. And if anybody wants to jump in with one that they feel particularly strongly about, maybe that's the best place to keep the ball rolling. So David, Monica, Iolanda and Paolo, if there's one there that you just can't wait to answer, then please pop on mic and go for it.
Maybe can I add something about the strategy?
Absolutely.
There is something that I wanted to add to the presentation. I think whatever we do, whatever action we decide to start or implement, we also need to consider to reduce or avoid the damages. So one of the advantage that I saw in the campaign we did is that at the end of the day, we produced a lot of content. We produced data on Wikidata, we produced images. So we, in any case, even if the advocacy didn't work as we planned, we obtained a series of the results that were positive. Endorsement, collaboration with City Council, new partnership, collaboration with Creative Commons Italy and Creative Commons International. We did lots of things that in any case moved us in the right direction. And I think it's something that is important to consider when you do advocacy, because we decided to change a technique. So we decided to talk about topics and to move towards the opt-out strategy, because we also acknowledge that somehow we were sabotaging our contest. So we were forcing the entire system through authorization, but we could actually engage more people and engage more sites. So moving in the right direction and making sure that what you do actually nourishes the project and goes also towards the advantage of content, I think is very important. Also because advocacy doesn't work all the time, and it's quite frustrating because even if we put a site notice on Wikipedia and we are so powerful as a communication tool, in Italy, for example, the law didn't change. We had a lot of endorsement, but nothing changed. Even there been a further restriction in the last year. What we see is also that we can take advantage to the opposition of the government. So we have a museum that support us and support open access also because they don't like the government. But still, I think it's important that every step that we develop doesn't damage our project, doesn't damage the end goal of our mission and our work, but actually nourish and produce good content, participation, collaboration, and so on.
That's great. Thank you so much, Iolanda, for sharing. Would any of our other speakers like to jump in here?
Yes, for me that the question about the languages, I changed to the Spanish. La pregunta es que en Colombia las 68 lenguas cooficiales reciben el mismo trato o bien se priorizan en función del número de hablantes. Entonces, en Colombia existe una política que es la política 1381 del 2010, que es la política de derechos lingüísticos de Colombia. Esta política, digamos que su marco y su razón de ser es porque definitivamente, aunque en la constitución política del país se habla de esta cooficialidad de las lenguas indígenas, en el ejercicio de derechos y en la práctica de la ciudadanía no es así. Tú tienes que tener comunicación o acceso a la salud o acceso a la educación mayoritariamente en español. Entonces surge esta política y no hay el mismo trato y tampoco, digamos que otra pregunta es si se priorizan en función del número de hablantes. Yo contestaría que sí. Por ejemplo, las dos lenguas que tienen mayor número de hablantes en Colombia es el Wayunaiki y el Nasayuwe. Tenemos una versión de Wikipedia en Wayunaiki oficial que se hizo oficial el año pasado. Entonces sí hay, digamos que avances. Por ejemplo, estas lenguas han tenido desarrollos en términos de propuestas de etnoeducación, de intérpretes que median entre el Estado y también las comunidades, pero no ha sido, digamos que, equivalente el trato y también las condiciones para la diversidad y para todas las comunidades indígenas en el país. Y un poco ahí también alineado con Wikimedia, aquí hay una oportunidad porque se habla de educación también digital y de abrir otros escenarios de participación ciudadana y de reivindicación lingüística y cultural en entornos digitales. Y ahí Wikimedia puede ser un aliado muy clave también para incidir en la legislación del país.
Y aprovecho para contestar otra pregunta y seguir en la traducción. ¿Cómo nos volvimos expertos en estos temas? Yo creo que lo hicimos a través de comunidades de práctica y es abriendo espacios para que diferentes profesiones tuvieran puntos de encuentro, como por ejemplo el sitio web de Wikimedia Colombia, donde publicamos algunas notas explicando cómo nos afectaban los proyectos de ley y qué cosas solicitábamos, ¿no? Entonces fue una cosa más comunitaria, más de las personas que se interesaban en estos temas, intentar aprender unos con otros y desarrollar habilidades en los temas más que que hubiera un gran experto. Y siguiendo con otra pregunta es, ¿qué pasa si no trabajamos con Red para Todos? Pues yo lo que creo es que finalmente otros hubieran decidido por nosotros. La idea es que si uno se sentía interpelado, que había una ley que le afectaba y uno quería proponer algo diferente, pues era como una plataforma para que más voces se juntaran a hacer solicitudes de, específicamente en ciertos casos, más acceso libre al conocimiento.
Thank you so much, David, and thank you for referring to and answering another one of the questions on the Padlet. I'm going to ask a question from the Padlet now that is for both groups. Oh, Ziski, I see your hand is up. Sorry, go ahead. Just yell at me if I miss it, but yeah.
I wanted to add to what Monica said because I think those are really important points and did a beautiful job of demonstrating that advocacy is really hard, but also most importantly, you don't need to be a lawyer or a policy expert to join an advocacy campaign or to be effective. As she pointed out with this example of focusing perhaps on Indigenous languages, the benefit of being a Wikimedian is that you inherently do work that everybody understands is important and is meaningful. And so there are many case studies and examples that you can pick to capture the imagination of the government and the general public about why they should care about Wikipedia and therefore why they should care about whatever law it is that you are trying to adjust. So this case of Indigenous languages, Lucy, you also brought up, has been really big in the UK, and it is. There was a bill that could have threatened the way that Wikipedia works and actually killed Wikipedia in the UK. And the case study that was most effective was for us to talk about how important it is to make sure that children have access to Welsh Wikipedia, and that Welsh Wikipedia is the single largest Welsh language website in the world. And this is something that is obviously important. And that was the one case study that a bunch of government officials would bring up in debates and in the media, even without us talking about them. And I think that's a really powerful example of why the work you do is important and how impactful it can be for a Wikimedia organization to join a coalition on something, because when we speak, our voice tends to be heard.
That's amazing. And the work that Ziski and the team did, along with some input from Wikimedia UK, was just phenomenal on the online safety bill. So I just want to lift that up because it was really, really important. Full input from Wikimedia UK. Thank you. I didn't want to oversell us, but yes, we were very involved in. And as Sarah, you took the words out of my mouth. Shout out to Wikimedia UK's Wales program coordinator Robin Owain for all the work he's done in Wales. So much. Wales is incredible. I would like to ask Wikimedia Italia to start on the question, how was your organization perceived by the media, allies, and or government? Did you have respect? Did you have influence? And I think this follows on from Ziski's case study. And Wikimedia Colombia, I'd love to know your answers as well once we've heard from Italia. So please do go ahead, Paolo.
Okay. Yes, I think that if we talk about perception, we always are well perceived by the general audience and also by institutions, even when institutions are not with us on some points, but we get to get heard because, as Ziski said, we are supporting Wikipedia in our countries. So Wikipedia is something that is really appreciated by everybody. It is hard to find somebody that hates Wikipedia or doesn't find it useful, except from some haters on Twitter. Maybe you get to find them too. And so also when we work with cultural institution, museum, as Iolanda mentioned, often want to work with us, want to have find their own space on Wikipedia, respecting the rules of Wikipedia, working with Wikipedians and Wikimedians in general. And most of the time, the reason why they can't find their own space is because of the law or the rules that are set by the Ministry of Culture. So we are there to cooperate with them. And also something that I find really interesting in terms of perception from the media, for example, is that often, I don't know if it is the same in Colombia, but in Italy, we often talk about Wikipedia when there are news coming from abroad. For example, when there are when Wikimedia Foundation is communicating on something, or when there are something that is dealt with by, I don't know, BBC or international media. Also, Italian media take it into account. So I think it's interesting. It is interesting to keep in mind that, because you know that you have some kind of occasion to be heard in these moments. And beside that, we also have our own national strategy, we try to find our own spot in Italy, but we have to also take in consideration that we are Wikimedia Italy, but we are within a global movement, and sometimes this movement come into our own countries, and it's interesting, and also it is challenging sometimes. I don't know if Wikimedia Colombia, you have some similar experiences.
Yes, bueno, lo que pasó en Wikimedia Colombia es que recibimos comentarios, por ejemplo, en el sitio web de Wikimedia Colombia, donde publicábamos las notas, y nos agradecían por hacer este tipo de declaraciones. También hicimos cartas pidiendo firmas de apoyo, y usuarios, personas usuarias de Internet, pues incluían sus nombres, sobre todo wikipedistas colombianos. Y esto le daba fuerza, por ejemplo, a los momentos cuando Mónica iba al Congreso a hablar con personas tomadoras de decisiones, y mostrar que no era una propuesta aislada, sino que también la gente apoyaba. Creo que algo que pasó históricamente en este proyecto de ley es que un político lo mencionó diciendo que este político iba en contra de todos los que copiaran, y mucha gente se sintió interpelada en cuanto a que copiar es la base de Internet. Por lo tanto, este proyecto de ley se percibió como un ataque a nuestro Internet. Entonces, por eso creo que fue, digamos, interesante cómo se percibió en Colombia, que creo que, por ejemplo, en Uruguay no pasó igual, pero bueno, lo dejo ahí.
Sí, yo quisiera complementar ahí a David, y es que pues ha sido muy interesante porque a partir de esa experiencia nos han tenido en cuenta y nos tienen como referente de organización que puede participar de este tipo de discusiones y que puede convocar a otros actores. Justo les cuento que este año tenemos, se discute la ley de derechos de autor en el país cada 2 años y este año se va a discutir y ya varias organizaciones, tanto de la sociedad civil como instituciones del Estado, por ejemplo, la Biblioteca Nacional, nos han escrito a Wikimedia Colombia diciendo que queremos tener, pues que quieren tener unas mesas de trabajo para poder revisar la ley y ver en qué puntos o cuál va a ser el concepto que va a presentar este año, no solo Wikimedia Colombia, sino pues también la comunidad, las personas usuarias de Internet. Así que al final también nos ha servido como una instancia de relacionamiento y de identificación en el contexto nacional.
It's just so wonderful to hear you talk about your common experiences and where they differ. I'm going to take advantage of the Spanish translation. There's a question on the Padlet for Colombia in Spanish. I was wondering if it would be possible to ask that question and to understand what the question is for those of us who don't have Spanish.
Well, Lucy, I think Monica talked about that question at the beginning.
Excellent. Thank you very much. As you can see, I'm ticking these as we go through with a thumbs up to make sure I'm not repeating material here. Another question for both chapters. There is a big question here that I think is some that a lot of our participants are looking for an answer to, which is, how do you take the leap from seeing a problem to active advocacy? That seems like a big and scary jump. Now, I know you will have answered this to an extent with your case studies today, but taking a step back from it, how would you describe that process of going from a problem to active advocacy? And I'll pass that to Wikimedia Italia first and then over to Wikimedia Colombia. And remember, there's no wrong answers here. You're not being it's not a job interview, but it would be nice to know how you conceive that.
I think for Wikimedia Italy, Wikilos Monuments was a political and advocacy project. So as soon as we decided to participate, that was how we conceived the contest. This was positive and negative. So it was positive because it received a lot of energy. The association put a lot of effort and really commitment. And the fact that the contest continues today and there's still a lot of engagement is certainly a positive thing. But on the other hand, it's difficult because obviously it is a photographic contest. So should we focus on the photographic contest or on the advocacy? So the two working directions sometimes were not really working together so nicely. So there were, of course, people that were interested in the prize, the photo, so different motivation that sometimes collapse. But I think finding solutions. So when you have a difficult situation or a problem or an issue that you want to fight for, in our case, the way we proceed was to look for a solution, or at least experiment a solution. This idea of the authorization was a way to find consensus, find support in our working direction. It was obviously a unsustainable one because we have around 9,000 municipalities in Italy. The number of monuments is really huge, and having authorization for every single monument, it's unfeasible. This is what we obviously acknowledged. But I think looking for an option that opens up a door, it's important because at least you collect some success and also you move forward. So, and also the advantage of being a volunteer that allows you to experiment and try new things. And I think this is also something that we need to take advantage of also in our way of being active.
Paolo, I see your hand.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, I think that something interesting in the process of Wikilove's Monument is that we also managed to change our mind on how we want to organize that, how we want to simplify that. So I think it's also an interesting part of the process. You start with a need and you try to do something, and then you reorganize the energies. And also some about how do you decide to start something. I think that sometimes also as we want to be in contact with the community and we want to support them. Sometimes there's just not any other option because volunteers are asking for something to be done from Wikimedia Italy, and so you have to try that.
Listo. De nuestra parte, lo que podría decir es contactar a asociaciones. Al menos yo como individuo lo que hice fue ir a la Asociación de Bibliotecarios en Colombia y también ir a la asociación pues, de wikimedistas de Colombia en estos momentos. Y así no era la participación de una sola persona, sino de un colectivo. Y claro, es diferente si una simple persona habla por nombre propio que si toda una asociación, por ejemplo, la de los wikimedistas de Colombia, hacen solicitudes concretas al gobierno. Entonces yo creo que comenzar a buscar esas colaboraciones fue lo que le dio mucho peso a las solicitudes. Y también entender cómo funcionan también, cómo son estos procesos de toma de decisiones, ¿no? ¿Qué se hace en cada parte? Porque, digamos, hay momentos en los que es necesario redactar textos, otros en los que es más fácil hacer comparativas, otros en los que necesitábamos explicarle a más personas qué era lo que estaba sucediendo y cómo nos afectaba para tener también ideas de qué otros posibles escenarios podrían cambiarse en los proyectos de ley.
Sí, ahí yo creo que también una cuestión que ocurrió muy interesante es el rol de las personas intérpretes, porque claro, nos estábamos enfrentando a un contexto totalmente legal en el que muchas personas no tenían la experticia, entonces hubo un grupo de personas que se encargaban de hacer esa interpretación, de decir, por ejemplo, que el trabajo que se estaba haciendo, no sé, de traducción de textos a lenguas indígenas infringía los derechos de autor y tenían que hacerse, no sé, pagos, aún entendiendo pues que es un derecho al acceso a la información. Entonces teníamos ahí a un grupo de intérpretes que se encargó de esto. También hubo un trabajo muy juicioso de muchas personas que se encargaron de hacer un levantamiento de excepciones en la traducción a lenguas indígenas en otros países. Recuerdo mucho que fueron y consultaron, hicieron una revisión juiciosa de cómo, por ejemplo, en Bolivia o en Perú habían excepciones y en Colombia podíamos buscar esas excepciones, sobre todo para el trabajo que estábamos haciendo. Y finalmente, algo que me parece muy importante del trabajo que hacemos en Colombia, no solo en materia de derechos de autor, sino también de lo que, pues, del acceso mismo a la información, es el trabajo más situado, más local, el trabajo más de base. Este trabajo también me parece importante y que fue como uno de las cuestiones que también le dio mucha fuerza, porque al final era como un hub, ¿no? Entonces, claro, nosotros nos sumamos a este hub, pero nosotros podíamos hablar con comunidades más locales, con comunidades indígenas, con otros colectivos. Entonces yo creo que al final eso hizo que el trabajo que hicimos pudiera incidir en la política nacional.
I feel so inspired just listening to all of this, and Ziski's made a really valuable point in the chat of the different tactics of doing advocacy that we're seeing here with Wikimedia Colombia. You're talking more about direct engagement in official processes, where it's already on the agenda, but that takes resources and time, and ensuring that no one else is speaking for you. Whereas Wikimedia Italia, it's more indirect, playing the long game. Love that. Sounds very spy novel. They're playing the long game. Not yet targeting legislation, but you're building precedent so that in the future you will have strong and clear arguments to push the government to make change. Iolanda, I see your hand. Please do go ahead.
No, connected to this observation about our tactic, maybe I can also answer the question related to opt-out strategy.
Brilliant. That's what I was going to ask you. So yes,
okay.
fantastic.
So I think it's nicely connected because in reality, the issue of conflict is a major one. So in our situation, we have been thinking about if triggering a conflict. So a trail, a case would allow the court, and it would be interesting if the case arrived to the European Court to actually see if the situation in Italy is compliant with the European copyright law, and we trust is not. But on the other hand, to trigger a case, you need to decide that you instigate a conflict, or you create a conflict to make sure that something happens and that you can discuss the case. And we decided that also looking at the strategy in which you want to move in a direction that is always the right direction somehow, or at least the one that you trust is a good one for the movement, we decided that it was not the right way of proceeding. But we wanted also to create, to test the situation, and Zika said it very nicely. So to create arguments that allows you to say that, come on, it's 12 years that we are doing a contest. Everybody is happy. We are publishing the photo. We don't receive, the reaction, negative reaction. So it means something. It means that there is an endorsement, there is a recognition. And the opt-out system was a way was a soft way of negotiating with partners that would endorse the project. So we would have a common working direction with the National Organization of Castle, now with the Vatican, which I think is a very cool thing. So you have the church that say, oh, good idea to take photos of the churches. So it's very difficult that people would say, oh, no, it's not a good idea. So you create a contest of support, but on the other hand, you force a little the system to see if what happens. And at the moment, we are collecting good cases. So the opt-out is a limit. In reality, Wikimedia Commons is considered a non-commercial platform from one of the official documents in Italy. So it's a borderline. So we are producing the photos with released with a commercial that authorized commercial reuse, but on the other hand, us as a container, we're considered non-commercial because it's a no profit, because we don't have publicity and so on. So it's a borderline situation, but we try to work on endorsement and work also to create yes, documentation that can state that what we are doing is supporting the Faro Convention, which is this important convention that talks about the importance of participation of communities in documenting heritage and supporting heritage. So we try to frame it in a broader working direction. Okay.
So the moral of the story is make friends with the Pope, and it will be helpful.
Yes.
I love that. I love that.
It always works.
Amazing. Maybe you never know, he might use Wikipedia. The last couple of questions I'd like to ask from our selection are one of the strengths of Wiki have Let's Connect, I think, is sharing experiences that aren't necessarily always positive so that we feel less alone in our wiki work. So I'm gonna merge two questions together. And again, they're questions that I think you have tackled at various points in today's conversation. The first is, can you share more about the challenges and benefits of working with allies? So where is it difficult and where is it at its best? And I think this ties into the question someone's asked about what is the main challenge of getting the government or your partners to buy in on the policies. I think those are two sides of the same coin, really. So yeah, working with allies at its best with benefits, working at allies at its worst with challenges. And where does that work into kind of buy-in on policies, if there are any experiences you'd be happy to share? And I'll pass over to maybe Wikimedia Colombia to start and then back to Italy.
Si quieres, yo arranco. Bueno, pues los beneficios es que hemos podido ser parte de una red de aliados con los que compartimos este interés en abrir, por ejemplo, Internet, en abrir plataformas, en abrir infraestructuras. Y esto, pues, beneficia mucho a Wikimedia Colombia porque, pues, son aliados naturales con quienes podemos desarrollar proyectos, con quienes, por ejemplo, en este caso, podemos incidir en la política pública. Así que esto para mí, digamos que es uno de los beneficios, además de posicionar al movimiento Wikimedia en discusiones mucho más grandes y de impacto, ¿sí? O sea, imagínense la magnitud de haber incidido en la política de derechos de autor en el país. Esto para nosotros es un beneficio porque no solo están hablando de Wikimedia Colombia, sino que están hablando del movimiento Wikimedia también en esta área. Y en relación a los desafíos, bueno, ya les decía que, por ejemplo, el tema del lenguaje y la necesidad de intérpretes, pues es uno de los desafíos, ¿no? Necesitamos tener a más intérpretes que nos permitan entender y que nos permitan entender como todo este lenguaje. Hay otro asunto para Wikimedia Colombia y es que pues hasta el momento nunca hemos contemplado tener, por ejemplo, a una persona que se encargue de hacer seguimientos a leyes en el país en donde nos veamos implícitos o que podamos decir algo. Nunca lo hemos hecho y yo creo que este es un desafío porque definitivamente hay muchas cuestiones que están ocurriendo, muchas discusiones que se están dando en donde podríamos realmente incidir, pero pues como no tenemos a las personas ni tampoco los recursos para hacerlo, pues no lo hemos podido hacer porque requiere de tiempo, requiere de personas profesionales, requiere de experticia también. Entonces yo creo que al menos señalaría como esos dos desafíos y no sé si ahí, David, tú quieras complementar con algún otro.
Sí, yo creo que los beneficios son las miradas diversas, ¿no? Y abrir espacio para que más miradas participen en el debate y no siempre los mismos grupos de poder en ciertos casos. Y también, pues, el beneficio es convertirse en un interlocutor válido al final, ¿no? De este tipo de debates. Y concuerdo totalmente en que uno de los grandes desafíos es la sostenibilidad en el tiempo. Algo que pasó en nuestro caso en Colombia es que cada vez que había un nuevo proyecto de ley, pues claro, no siempre era seguro que mantuvieras el mismo grupo de personas participando en estos procesos.
Shall we
would you like to?
continue? Okay. So, I think that working with allies, it's really interesting and useful because when you are more than one to insist on something is like giving strength to your idea. And also, I think that, for example, in the chat, Iolanda mentioned ICOM Italy, which we are collaborating with in Italy on many projects, and having this kind of allies, which is a network of museums in Italy, it's really interesting because they have their own network of people and institution, and also they can also help you shaping your ideas and proposal in order to be also accepted by, let's say, more conservative people or institution, which is something that we also have to keep in our mind. Sometimes as Wikimedians, we have interesting and radical ideas, but in order to get to be understood by government, we also have to keep in mind other positions. So I think that's also useful. Also showing that we are, yes, we are collecting more voices within our movement. I don't know, Iolanda, if you want to add something.
Maybe it's interesting also to mention an effort that we're doing in collaborating with other organizations, Creative Commons Italy, also organization working in open data, free and open software, and open science. Also to advocate together and to collaborate and sign a position paper, and also contribution to discussion in Parliament together. For sure, the collaboration with Creative Commons has been a long collaboration. It's great also because you have also legal advice, and also we can sign. So it's funny because Deborah De Angelis contribute more to the legal part. We contribute more to the communication and make it more digestible. Or sometimes there's these forces that fight one with the other. We also found very interesting and useful to define our position. So at the moment we have four main topics. So the first one is the respect of public domain. So public domain in public domain is the first issue. The second one is freedom of panorama, and this year we will be focusing also on this and thanks Zisky. So we have some also connection and working on it. So trying to move on and maybe establishing also collaboration with architect. So in this case, not only opposing the situation, but also try to find solution that can endorsement, which in any case is also fun because you meet interesting architect and you discuss with people that are also fun. I think it's also important to enjoy our work. Then we have data without restrictions, so data in CC0, and particularly government data. And the fourth issue is free software and open formats. That's also allowed, well, Wikimedia Italy has a very strong open and free software approach. So we use that in the organization. This is something that I would like also to advocate for the learning clinic, that with the proprietary software, we're not doing great. So maybe using software that is open because it's really part of our infrastructure. And also it allows us to collaborate with a wide number of organizations, activists, technical contributors, and so on.
Lucy, you're on mute.
I'm on mute. It's good because I just swore when I realized I was on mute, so I timed that well. We're coming towards the end of the kind of official discussion time. There's two questions left. One is, how did you become experts on these topics? I think you've all shown today how you became experts. It's through the amazing work that you have done and the connections that you've made and the things that you have uncovered for us in the movement. And this other question that remains is, did you encounter any misconceptions about Wikipedia along the way? Now, I'm going to guess that the answer to that is yes, but I would be interested if you had kind of concise or shorter answers just to what the key misconceptions you found were, and if you have any tips for people about how to address those when trying to establish a partnership or advocacy. So, a key misconception and how you address it. Is there kind of what do you usually say to those things? And I'm opening that to any of our 4 speakers.
I will try on a key misconception, which is not always related to advocacy. It's like Wikipedia is run by editorial staff, or I think most of the people think that's doesn't understand. Most of the people don't understand how Wikipedia works because we are used to more hierarchy in things, and so sometimes it is difficult to explain that it's actually free and it's working because it is free in this way. So maybe it's also a starting point to show our model and to engage people on these topics. Yes, then I don't know about the other people participating, what they think.
Ziski, go ahead. Sorry, I was trying to unmute myself there.
Just to emphasize what Paolo said, explaining the Wikimedia model is also probably the single biggest challenge that the Foundation's advocacy team faces. And so we are working on developing some resources to make that a little easier for everyone and testing what's working.
That's excellent. Thank you. Could I ask Cassie, could you share your screen with the main deck if possible? What we wanted to do to finish the session was to share some resources that might be useful. Now, Ziski has gone above and beyond sharing resources in the chat, and we'll make sure that these are compiled into a document for you. Wikimedia Italia sent some recommendations. I wonder, Iolanda or Paolo, if you could just quickly tell us what these are and why they're useful as resources for this kind of work, what they might be useful for.
Iolanda, do you want to go ahead?
Well, with Empowering Italian Glam, because we would love to see 100,000 museums contacted all over the world. So it would be great to see if this kind of approach can be replicated in another country. And you find all the information. We will be finalizing the project in June 2024, so this year. And we are trying to create a process and an approach. So this is an example of project. We also have some documentation on Meta about the old history of the issue of cultural heritage in Italy. And we wanted also to give you the link also to those data visualization that we think can be also interesting to document images that are available about heritage, but also glams in different countries. And also this content is organized by cities, by municipality, and it is designed also as an advocacy tool because it allows also to show what is missing, what is there, and also highlighting the potential collaboration also with different territories, regions, and nations.
Brilliant, thank you. Wikimedia Colombia, Monica, David, and Ziski, are there any other particularly useful tools you'd want to highlight for people to take away with them? I can see Ziski's got some great links in the chat. We've got videos called Wiki in a Minute, resources on the model in the section here. Argentina have created a great PDF. Monica, David, do you have any particular suggestions of what might be useful?
Sí, bueno, creo que aquí podría ser interesante crear en grupo, ¿no? Creo que voy a usar un par de palabras que podrían ser muy locales, pero que expresan más este sentimiento, ¿no? Y es hacer minga, ¿no? Que es hacer grupo, o más urbano, hacer parche. Lo que quiere decir en un castellano muy de Bogotá, específicamente es hacer grupos de gente conocida, de gente que se va relacionando para hacer cosas, y también creo que diferentes medios pueden servir. No sé, en algún momento creo que estuvimos, además de hacer webinars para explicar por internet este tipo de cosas, también pensamos en cómo hacer fanzines, ¿no? Y que puede ser una cosa muy manual, muy pequeña y de corto tiraje, pero que también son formas de explorar cómo explicamos los problemas y los temas que nos interesan.
Sí, yo ahí un poco lo que estamos pensando, por ejemplo, para el trabajo que se viene ahorita con la reforma y las discusiones. Estamos pensando en tener una serie de videos explicativos. El año pasado lanzamos uno que es como la introducción a las licencias Creative Commons, pero pues hay muchos videos para explicar, por ejemplo, este tema, pero definitivamente quisiéramos como alinearnos con la narrativa local para poder explicar, eh, que no se vuelva un video, digamos, de abogados para abogados, sino que queremos pensar en algo mucho más pedagógico que nos permita llegar sobre todo a comunidades que, por ejemplo, no han tenido cercanía con el tema. Entonces estamos pensando en esto, en estos videos, y también un poco alineado con lo que dice David, pues queremos manejar unas metodologías de mesas de trabajo. em, el otro día le pusimos a una reunión la juntanza y la juntanza o la juntada, un poco como alineado a esta perspectiva mucho más local. No son reuniones formales porque al menos como en las experiencias que hemos tenido son reuniones informales en donde todas las personas podemos decir algo al respecto, donde se valora también como la diversidad de conocimientos y experiencias. Entonces estamos pensando como en esas metodologías de trabajo, y, y algo que nos ha funcionado mucho también desde Wikimedia Colombia es la transparencia, entregar reportes, pues reportes sobre todo pensados para la comunidad. Entonces, también, por ejemplo, en las actividades que hemos realizado un poco más a nivel institucional, como el Wikidía o IberoConf 2023, entregamos un informe a la comunidad que fue construido con la comunidad, en donde hacemos una evaluación también de recomendaciones y próximos pasos. Entonces, esto es como una forma que hemos construido institucional y que también nos parece importante como seguir replicando para estas experiencias, y que le quede al final de insumo también al movimiento para futuras acciones.
Thank you so much. We're almost at time, but what I would like to do is give us a couple of minutes to sit and think and see if there are any other questions that people would like to ask, before we move on to the opportunity to give some feedback and highlight what we'll be doing next. So it's 17:49. I'm going to leave the mic open till about 51 or 52 minutes. If you have any questions, pop on the microphone, raise your hand, put them in the chat. If there's something that you'd like to ask our speakers about resources. Oh, Nanur, please do come ahead and ask your question.
Yes, thank you, Lucy, and thank you for the Wikimedia Colombia and the Wikimedia Italy. It's I feel like I was with you in these conversations and meetings with the people, with the alliance actually, and this made me that thinking when I'm going to meet someone and to make this, to take this authorization from them or making this changing in the law. Is there any signs or reactions from the people that after that doing your meetings and discussions, you're going out and saying, yes, we are reach out for the with the right person, or no, we don't expect so much from this meeting. Is there something like that come after your long and diverse experience in Wikilove's monuments and this linguistics aspect? Thank you.
Any of our speakers like to comment on that?
Maybe I can start.
Sure.
I thought, well, some of the best experience that I have were actually when you give for granted that there are some common ground. So, for example, for us, it was very useful to talk about open access with institution, because nowadays in Italy and in general in Europe is really compulsory. So you cannot be against open access. It's something that an institution can't state, no, I'm against participation, also because with the new definition of museum of 2022, the issue of participation, ethics, sustainability, engagement are really part of the essence of a museum. So acknowledging a common ground and then discussing about, okay, what does it mean to implement it? So it's something that I found very useful. We had also several meetings with politicians, also with Paolo. We also hired a public policy expert in a communication agency. But those meetings were sometimes positive, but it was very difficult then to follow up and to continue. It's also we also need to consider our energy as institution and as people. So can we actually follow up? Can we actually plan also to get back to people and continue the conversation? I think the experience of Wikimedia Colombia is fantastic from this point of view, because really their work have been really determinant. But also in contact, I think the follow-up is another key element. And also my last recommendation would be numbers. So it's obvious that if we address 3,000 institutions, or if we address all the Italian city council, the 9,000, working with big numbers, obviously, it's also a way to increase the chances, and also it gets it less personal. So you're less disappointed when you don't have a positive feedback, because of course, you're building strategies, you're moving on, you feel, and also, indeed, this technique also of enlarge the communication, we found it very efficient. So at the end, it's true that 230 museums in this case is not a huge number, but we were used to collaborate with maybe 5 a year. So it's obvious that it completely changes the number. So I think those are 3 suggestions or hints that I would recommend.
If I can add something, and Nanur, something that happens to me personally was to talk to the people. Not just try to say all your speech without feedback, but just to establish some sort of conversation, because sometimes you notice, because of the questions that they do to you, they completely don't understand what you are trying to achieve. So, and you can see that sometimes they are thinking that you are advocating for something completely different. For example, I don't know, in some conversation, I remember that someone said like, oh, but you are not trying to destroy all the creators in the world, like, you know, like all the, so it's when you try to calibrate how your message is received and what misleading ideas are there. So just ask questions and establish conversations to try to understand what the other person is understanding from what you ask.
Thank you so much, David. We're bang on time. We're perfectly ready for our closing now. Two things. One is that I would like us to show our appreciation for our speakers today, either with a reaction emoji or by coming off mic and doing a little round of applause. I think everyone did brilliantly today. I've learned so much and I hope you all have too. One of the things, our New Year's resolution at Let's Connect, is to get more feedback so that we can advocate for Let's Connect going forward. So you can help us by filling in this Mentimeter. I promise it will take under a minute. I'm going to share my screen so we can see the feedback coming in. The feedback is for us to make future clinics better, to feedback to our sharers, and for us to make Let's Connect the best it can possibly be. So if you click on that link, you'll be asked 3 short questions and we'll be able to improve our clinics moving forward. So the first question is how useful the session was, if it included what you expected to learn, and if you, oh, look at that. We're nailing it. And whether the explanations were easy to understand. The more feedback that we get from you, the more likely it is that we'll be able to bring you even more clinics in 2024. We also have questions, just to move on to the next slide, about how slow is Lucy's computer today? The answer is very. What was one important learning you took from this clinic? That's always something that we love to be able to share with those who've shared with us today. So 3 questions about how impactful the clinic was and questions about what you learned. And if you're able to take 2 minutes to share with us right now your opinions, your thoughts, what you've learned and what we can improve, that just means so much to us and it allows us to keep doing the work that we do. We will be in touch with all of the resources, all of the slide decks, all of the information that you will need. It will be within the next week once we've gathered it all together. We have our monthly Connectathon this Friday on Wiki Loves Love, and we would love to see as many of you there as possible to talk about all things Wiki. In relation to today's session, we also have another copyright advocacy session happening on February the 21st with Eric Luth from Wikimedia Sweden and Rahmat from Wikimedia Indonesia, which will be a really nice partner to this session in terms of what we speak about. So if you were interested today and you'd like to learn a little more about some different tactics and techniques, please do sign up for that session as well. I'd like to thank our interpreters for interpreting for us today. I'd like to thank all of the Let's Connect working group who are here helping Rocio and I to run this clinic smoothly. And just another massive thank you to our sharers without whom we could not have done this. And it's tradition at the end of Let's Connect sessions that we take our microphones off and make a bit of noise just to feel a bit more connected. So if you'd like to take your microphone off and make a bit of noise, we'll be happy to stop the recording now. So yeah, make noise. Woo!